We're back with Alden Chodash of AldenBoxing.com. This past weekend, Alden, on Showtime from England, Timothy Bradley upsets Junior Witter. What do you feel of Bradley's performance?
It was a solid performance by Timothy Bradley. It was a much less exciting bout than I anticipated, basically because Timothy Bradley stood from a distance and didn't let Junior Witter land very effective punches. Bradley stood from a distance and exposed Junior Witter's awkwardness as ineffectiveness, as 36 previous opponents, with the exception of Zab Judah and one opponent in which he drew with, weren't able to do. Timothy Bradley stood from that distance and countered Witter, even scored a knockdown, but the power wasn't the difference in that fight. Bradley's professionalism and his level of being how technically sound he is what made the difference. And I'd like to see him matched against more elite fighters because of how effective and how professional he looked in that fight.
Do you think Bradley's on the Ricky Hatton level?
I'm not sure yet. That's why I'd like to see him fight more top elite junior welterweights right now, because let's face it, Timothy Bradley has very few more than 20 fights, other than Junior Witter, who may be an overrated fluke from England. He hasn't been tested with very good opponents. Ricky Hatton has been on the level of a Floyd Mayweather, or at least reached a fight of that magnitude as early as his last fight. So Timothy Bradley would definitely need more experience at the top caliber of the junior welterweight division, although maybe he is on the level of a Ricky Hatton in a few fights.
Okay, what do you think of Carl Froch's performance against his opponent?
There's really not much to tell from Carl Froch. Carl Froch has been doing this to, I think, 30-plus previous opponents. It's definitely time to step it up. He's an awkward fighter. He's good punching power, good hand speed. He's in a tough division, and he's taking on the very weakest of that division. So, in that regard, I'm not impressed with him. I'm definitely not impressed with his matchmaker. I'd like to see him tested.
Okay. Just want to hear your comment. Zab Judah, of course, pulls out of his fight against Shane Mosley, and this talk of a Mosley-Ricardo Mayorga matchup. Are you interested in seeing that?
It would be definitely an ugly matchup and an unintriguing matchup, as the Mosley-Judah would be, I'd have to admit. I was not very excited about that matchup. I don't know why Ricardo Mayorga is continually being tested against the elite. He's really just a punching bag for the elite, as he proved in two biggest fights, minus the fight against Vernon Forrest, his third, which took place a long time ago. His two biggest fights, Tito and De La Hoya beat him up. Shane Mosley's beaten De La Hoya twice. I don't know why he wouldn't do the same thing, if not worse, because Ricardo Mayorga is 2 years older than he was when he fought De La Hoya, and has been coming off very bad beatings in the past.
What do you think of a discussion currently of a Nate Campbell, Juan Manuel Marquez matchup?
It's a good matchup when you consider that Nate Campbell was kicked out of a matchup with the Ring Magazine lightweight champion, the undeserving one, in my opinion, Joel Casamayor, when, in fact, Juan Diaz, who was recently beaten up by Campbell, filled in as the opponent for Joel Casamayor, and he may very well become the Ring Magazine lightweight champion, because I think he has the stuff to beat Joel Casamayor. I also don't think that's fair to Nate Campbell, but a fight with Juan Manuel Marquez would be a perfect match. It would draw a lot of money for Campbell's stature right now, and it'd be a very good fight for the big, important boxing fans.
Okay, and on the Oscar De La Hoya, Steve Forbes undercard, an exciting young prospect, Danny Jacobs. He stays unbeaten. Briefly, what's your feelings on Jacobs? Does he have a big future ahead of him?
His boxing skills suggest yes. He's a very good combination puncher, definitely shown through 6 fights against overmatched opponents, although that he's a very good puncher, good hand speed. I'd like to see how he reacts against adversity. He has in the past, in his amateur career previously, he has lost fights there. I'd just like to see him tested on the professional stage. I'm not sure if he could do it yet. That's why I'd like to see him tested, and it's going to be interesting because he's a very talented young fighter.
Okay, on ESPN on Friday, Chris Bird moves down to cruiserweight to take on Sean George. Do you think Bird is going to be a major player in cruiser?
Light heavyweight?
Is he in light heavyweight?
That's actually going to be a light heavyweight match. There's no evidence suggesting so. There's evidence suggesting that Bird is definitely past his prime, however. Sean George is not really much of a test, so he's probably going to beat George. But I'd like to see how he performs in that fight so I could really make any analogies of how he would perform in light heavyweight. I think that's a decision he should have made towards the beginning of his career. I think he had started his career out at light heavyweight, but he moved up to heavyweight quickly. He should have stayed at light heavyweight or cruiserweight. I think he would have been a lot more successful.
Okay, on Saturday, Jorge Arce faces Thailand boxer David Lukmanhanek, who's 18-1 but never has fought outside of Thailand. Jorge Arce, no trouble there?
Unless John Hamek is a southpaw, as Arce stated, he has been beaten up by Christian Maharis, who's a top-class southpaw, but Tomas Rojas, who's a sincerely lower-class southpaw, who's not a very great fighter, just a journeyman, was beating Jorge Arce before he was stopped with a body shot. So I don't know who this Thailand fighter is, but Jorge Arce has stated to his manager not to match him up against any southpaws. I don't think this Thailand fighter is. I don't think he should be. I think Arce should definitely be boxing better fighters at this stage of his career. It's a later stage, and he has proven that he is one of the elite despite his recent success against southpaws.
Okay, Christian Maharis is also on that card. He faces Alexander Munoz, who's 32-2. His only 2 losses coming to Martin Castillo. Should be a good matchup?
Yeah, I think Christian Maharis should be a matchup pitting 2 of the best super flyweights in the world. I'm interested in that division. That division includes Maharis, Munoz, 2 very good fighters. Matchup I'm excited to see, as well as Fernando Montiel, who's a very sharp fighter. I think the winner of this Maharis-Munoz fight should be pitted up against Fernando Montiel, but I think Christian Maharis is a very slick fighter, very good boxing skills. I think he should beat monetary, steady, lethargic, somewhat opponent in Alexander Munoz, who is not a very quick fighter and coming off an unimpressive performance against Kawashima in his last fight.
Okay, let's run briefly down the HBO show on Saturday. James Kirkland, 21-0, faces Ermisali Albert, 21-1. Who's going to win?
I think I'm leaning towards Ermisali Albert if he can survive the power of James Kirkland. It's the more solid, all-around. He's all around the better fighter, more solid. I think he's more durable than James Kirkland. If he can take that punch, he will answer that question to all of us quickly. And if he could take Kirkland's level of offense, which is surely impressive, I think he would be headed towards a victory in that fight.
Okay, Yuriorkis Gamboa is facing Darling Jimenez. Gamboa is something special, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. Jimenez is just a puncher, and I think Gamboa should outclass him.
Alfredo Angulo facing Richie Gutierrez. Who do you like?
This is similar to the Ermisali Albert James Kirkland matchup. Richard Gutierrez is the more professional, better all-around fighter than Angulo, and if he can survive the punching power of Angulo, that is, he should be headed towards a victory.
Okay, and finally this weekend, Billy Dibb, undefeated Superfly, he faces Leon Maratas, who's just 8-2, and that's odd considering that Billy Dibb was scheduled to fight Jorge Linares recently, but that never came off. Do you think Dibb has a future?
What I've seen from him, I've seen him once. I've seen him in Tampa on an undercard of Wright versus Corte. I think I'm not very impressed with Billy Dibb. It looks like he's been watching too much footage of Prince Nassim Hamed, and he's not doing a very good imitation of it. I'm not too excited about Dibb, especially when he goes up against opposition like this.
Okay, thanks, Alden, for talking to us. Remember to check out aldenboxing.com for more information. See you next week.